You're listening to Kelly and Steve, and this is coupled with chaos.
90 Day Fiancé Happily Ever After, Season 18, Episode 19, and finally, the end. And
Amen.
They all lived. Happily Ever After, question mark, I guess is the end. Mm-hmm. They should do every end of the season. That should be the end of every episode. Title it that.
So you know it's the end.
Yeah, it would be help. That way, you don't stop watching.
You can see it coming.
Yeah, like the rest of us. Mm-hmm. Like everyone, maybe other than podcasters.
Yeah.
I think podcasters are the only one watching this at this point.
Yeah.
Nobody else has made it to the end. I feel like it's a marathon.
Yeah.
You know, you made it to the end and you don't know if you're happy, right? You're kind of elated that it's over, but it's still like agonizing all at the same time. You go, would I do this over again?
Probably shouldn't ask me that.
All of these weeks of training, was it worth it? Probably not. I don't even know where to start.
Just start so we can get to the end.
Is that how this goes?
That's how this goes.
I think of who I think made you more upset. And I think I've got, because all of them kind of equally would get you upset. There was a point where, you know, sometimes maybe we get distracted and we're not watching the screen. Whatever happens, there was a time where I rewound something and said, no, I need to make sure you see this. Mm-hmm. And it was Emily's face.
Yeah.
About mom and dad and just her.
Oh, I could hear the tone in her voice. I knew she was being snotty.
It's just horrible from her. All of this. And I think, you know what it gets me is that I'm like trying. It's been 5 years. 3 unplanned pregnancies.
Yeah.
And it's like she's offended. Like, do you think I'm not trying? You know what I want to say?
You think I don't want to move out? Okay, then do it.
Yes. I don't think you want to move out. And yes, no, I don't know. You're not trying. Because if you were trying, you would actually do something.
I would not tolerate this for 5 years, personally.
You have nothing to do. You have 2 things to do. One of them you shouldn't be doing, which is making babies.
Yeah, and you should not, for me, I would say to my kids, you should not be married and raising children in my house.
Well, that happens, right? So this happens. We get it. Circumstances.
Well, they're capable, is the thing. They're doing it because it's easier at this point.
I get Look, sometimes situations happen, and there are
but this is 5 years that happened.
Temporary circumstances that lead you down this path. Yeah. I understand that.
This is not temporary.
Even in their situation, right? He was out of the country, pregnancy. It was probably a little hard to get started. I get it, right?
5 years later, third kid?
It's fine as long as, I don't know, as long as Lisa and David are fine with it.
Well, I feel like, for me, if it were me, if you're comfortable enough in your financial situation to be having more kids and not preventing that,
it doesn't.
Then you should be out of my house.
It doesn't take money to have kids. Just so you know, there's a puppy in here completely going bonkers.
Yeah, she's... I don't know what she's doing.
Yeah, I don't know.
She's knocking over my lamp. She's trying to eat her bed. All kinds of stuff.
It's all fun stuff. So this is what happens in real time. Our other dogs are just staring at her.
Yeah, like
she's eating.
She's lost her mind.
She's had a nap. And she
is wrestling with her bed right now.
She's
like it's attacking her.
So you can't see it. So I'm sorry. I will try not to get distracted. Our other dogs are like leaving and turning their heads. Like, I don't know this dog. So that's it. It's Emma. It's her attitude.
Yeah.
I think
she's dripping with attitude.
About, like, you think I'm not doing anything. And it's literally, yes, you're not. You saying you're trying. The big things that she said she did was did an application. How long does it take to do a mortgage application, a qualification document?
You got to send some documentation, but you should have that.
How long does it take?
Well, for me, it would all be done in the same day.
It's a day. This is a day. She probably went, did it, and then they said, oh, no, you need this stuff. And then she went and got it.
Yeah.
Probably didn't have it and then had to go get it. So let's call a week. Her actually filling out the documents. How long do you think it took her to get a realtor?
How long it took her or how long it should have taken?
Well, should have. How long really could it take?
Yeah, it depends on if she's like, I don't know.
5 minutes?
Sleeping, no telling.
They're all over the place.
Yeah.
Everywhere.
You can find one online and get them to respond to
Drive
you.
in your neighborhood. There are signs everywhere.
Yeah.
This is what happened. Her effort level, would you put her effort level on getting out of the house less than, equal to, or greater than Gino's effort to fill out the
paperwork?
documents?
Hard to say. They're both nil.
I still think it's less. She's had to do less here.
Is she working?
No.
She's not working either?
No.
Oh, my gosh. This is killing me.
She just doesn't want this.
Yeah.
Do you think
Not
I
enough.
don't want to move out and buy? Yes, we think you don't want to move out and buy a home.
When she copped the attitude and got snotty with her mom, what did I say to you?
I don't know.
This is the part where I would look at our kid and say, well, let me help you out. You have to be out by this date.
Right. On August 30th, right? Or August, what is 30 days to September, April, June, and November. So it's 31 days. By October 30 or August 31st, you're out.
Yeah.
Either you don't want to, I'm not going to put your stuff out, but this is the deadline. Mm-hmm. So find someplace to go.
What you do is you go, it's that by this date, or you're paying this amount of rent equivalent to what you'd pay somewhere else. And then that's a real encouragement to get out.
It sounds like they've had the discussion about how worthless and a pit that paying rent is. This has been a real discussion of theirs.
Right.
So in 5 years, how much money have you saved for a down payment?
They should have saved all of it.
Yeah, what do they have to do?
Right.
I'm sure they're contributing to food and diapers. And
whatever.
Her diaper bills probably.
I'll believe it when I see it.
What a mess. Her facial expression.
Even Dad said that they've been enabling and it's time to stop.
Yeah.
I just thought it was so telling how childish and snotty and ungrateful she acted, getting up and storming out like they were in the wrong. And then here her husband sits all apologetic on their behalf.
It's their daughter.
Right.
He says we will rent.
Right.
We will be responsible for ourselves.
Right.
That is what he should say.
Yes.
And you think it looks like he really feels
troubled
about this.
Yes.
And he's working.
Because he made a promise to him that he wouldn't have another kid in their house, so he can't let that happen.
Yeah, this is the one thing. You have one thing, if you're not going to find a place, you have one job. And your one job is not to get pregnant. Mm-hmm. This is it.
They're obviously doing nothing to stop this.
So when you say, I'm doing what I can, I go BS.
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
crap. You're not doing what you can because you actually got pregnant.
Yes.
Could you say, I don't know, whatever birth control you use?
Yeah, that's not it. They're not using it, clearly.
You have one job. Do this, right? We weren't expecting it either. And I go, same thing, BS.
Right.
You weren't doing the things not to let this happen. Mm-hmm. So you aren't. You can't say you're surprised by it.
It didn't happen to you. You did it.
Right. A meteor fell on my house. This happened. Or tornado blew through my trailer park. Mm-hmm. This happens. Yeah. These are things that you don't
not
control.
In your control.
None.
Right.
Zero.
But this was 100% in their control.
Yeah,
this was a choice.
There's two things you could do. If you went, you know what, you two can't, if you can't use protection, then guess what? You're not doing it. Uh-huh. Don't do it. Mm. Or find a way. Or move out.
Right.
If this is the rule, then you're going to go somewhere. If that ultimatum is put down, you go, well, how can you expect us to do that?
And if she says, we don't like to use protection, well, I don't like to have you still living in my house.
Mm-hmm. It's not like they're out of line. I don't think this is like an aggressive.
No, not at all. And they've been too easy, really. And that's why she's copping an attitude.
She's 32.
Yeah. This is ridiculous.
So she
should be embarrassed. And she's not. and there's a problem.
Well, maybe she is with the camera in the scene. Maybe this is a part of this whole thing, is that she is embarrassed by being called out. And really, this is an ultimatum that's put.
Well, I don't mean she should be embarrassed about being called out. She should be embarrassed about putting herself in this situation and putting her parents in this situation.
Because you're never ready, right? He says, right? David says, you just gotta get their life together.
Right.
And they're never
Bite
going
the
to.
bullet and do it.
Because you're never ready.
Right.
So you think we're going to save up enough money and things are going to be great. They're not. Unless you're saving up money is like lottery winnings. It's just not going to be. You're going to struggle. There's going to be, what? $500 power bill?
Yeah.
How? I didn't think, I only budgeted $150 for power. $500? That's crazy.
Yeah.
Well, yes, it's crazy, and it's
Welcome
real.
to Texas.
Well, it's just anywhere, right? I mean, we had the same thing happen in Virginia.
Yeah.
Our first winter, our November,
First month,
our December power bill was
January.
insane.
Yeah.
We ended up lighting up the buck stove, tarping off the living room.
Sleeping on the floor in there.
Yep.
Just to keep the heat in one room.
Yeah, so this was bad. So I think that you're just never, ever, ever ready. And so you're not going to be ready. So you just got to go. It's like the same. Well, I mean, you're never ready for kids either, right?
Right.
But that didn't stop them.
No.
Maybe you're a little more ready when mom and dad are there. It's a little easier for them. She's afraid, I think, of being responsible. Do you think she's somebody who would... It's about laundry and dishes and keeping up after everything. I think she's going to struggle there. It's just a feeling of mine. I don't know. For them, it's the house. It's what's livable versus what's perfect.
Right.
And Kobe's like, yeah, we could live in all these places. It would be okay. We could manage.
Right. She's got an ideal in mind, and the circumstances don't warrant ideal.
Yeah, she's just spoiled.
Yes.
So,
That's
I don't
the
know.
bottom line.
Yeah, there's anything more with them. I guess we've referenced Gino a little bit. I don't even know here what to think. Jasmine knows who Gino is.
Yeah, he's horrible.
Jasmine could have taken this money that she used for all her surgeries and probably insured herself the ability to make this happen. Right? So for me, I think this is as bad as Gino is here. Jasmine's got to have some responsibility in this. That aside, holy crap.
But he's got no excuse for putting off this paperwork. It's his only job. He's not working.
Yeah, so it's all excuses.
Yeah.
All of it. It's like I'm not sleeping with you because you're angry and I'm mad.
Yeah. And coupled with how he screwed up with the paperwork for the kids, I mean, this is just a bit much.
Well, we talked when it happened last season was this something that he did on purpose about the kids? Mm-hmm. And so with this, not doing the paperwork,
he's just controlling. He reminds me of my old neighbor that had the foreign wife.
Yeah.
He used to pull the same crap with her. Years, he wouldn't even let her get a driver's license so that she couldn't go anywhere. And she was stuck at home with her kids.
If you lose your passport, you're going to be responsible for getting a new one. Like, okay, this is what adults do. Mm-hmm. Adults can manage to keep stuff. This happens. Mm-hmm. She had a passport before she met you.
Right.
So I don't think this is really an issue. In this yes and no, did you submit my paperwork? Yes or no? Don't ask me yes or no questions.
And then he asked her yes or no questions.
Yeah, did you see me fill it out? Yes or no? I'm like, huh? What? I'm confused.
Yeah.
I'm not confused that he's not an a-hole.
She asked you first.
Right. Oh, it's just, and this is time consuming. Let's be honest.
And then for him to have the nerve to say to her, well, you can go right now.
This is one of the most insulting things. I know my window is narrow right now because we've been watching this season. This is one of the most insulting things I think I've heard.
That left me speechless.
Tell me why.
Did he really just say that?
Tell me why that's so insulting.
Because if she leaves before she has her green card, she can never come back.
Right.
So he's telling her, well, just go home then for good. Bye.
And it's a loaded statement.
Wow. What an a-hole.
And he doubled down on it.
Yes,
really, you know?
he
I mean,
said
this is really bad. I love that for me, I think his paperwork is probably online paperwork. He's probably doing it on his computer, and he gets distracted by porn.
Probably.
When he's on his computer. It's to bring her here and deny this is a problem. It's the same thing. Like, I'm working on it. Don't you see me working on it? This is Emily. Don't you see me? I got a realtor. I filled out an application, a qualification paperwork for my loan. Doesn't that mean I'm working on this? What does that mean? It's nothing.
Right.
It's nothing. It's nothing at all. I'm trying, right? I'm working on it. It's not like I'm trying to move my house 8 degrees west. I got to pick it up, jack it up, and move it. It's not that.
No.
This isn't rocket science.
Yeah, he should have taken care of this.
And he could have.
Yes.
And it sounds like he's
delaying on purpose.
Purposeful thing.
Because he's trying to control her.
These two bore me and tire me, and I'm almost at a point that I wonder if they've tricked us again.
Yeah.
Or double tricked us, or triple tricked us. I don't know what it is. So watch them all be together when this is all over.
Oh, I don't think so. But it wouldn't surprise me if this was all fake.
Yeah. I think there's all sorts of stuff. I mean, we don't have any Ed and Liz stuff anymore this season, but it's the same thing. There is no doubt if you go and look, Ed and Liz wedding information was put out. Mm-hmm. This happened. It was like People magazine. This happened. They put out that the wedding happened.
Mm-hmm. They put out pictures
we
too,
weren't
right?
making this up.
Mm-hmm.
So there is a whole secret espionage campaign about false flags and false information to try and keep these things going when we, in fact, know that Ed and Liz didn't happen. Mm-hmm. I suspected it, but then I went and checked and went, yes, there are stories about their wedding. Mm-hmm. And so this happened. So they put this fake stuff out there. So, it's a part of our, maybe disgust with this whole process of 90 day. Yeah. It's tough. That's why maybe we talked a little bit about the Black Swan trial. Mm. Jury selection starts tomorrow. So that's something we'll be talking about. Real stuff. Not
like
fake.
Actual things.
Yeah, like actual stuff.
Like somebody actually died.
I think Sophie, you can't fake that.
She just...
This whole month of Sophie
bored me this whole episode with her childish little pity party and the things that she was arguing about. I mean, I hate Rob.
Rob's a bad dude.
Rob.
I get it.
He's pathetic.
Yep.
He is childish,
yep.
immature, ridiculous. He complains all the time.
Yep.
Poor me.
Yep.
Whatever. Okay, can't stand him. But she is so horrible that I can't even think about her. I actually feel bad for him this episode. That he had to sit there and listen to her say that her whole crying panic attack fest was not about, but I love you, I don't want you to leave me. It turned out to be, well, why are you leaving me? I should have left you already. And that's what she's upset about.
Right. This is middle school.
This was the dumbest conversation I've ever seen. She went out and retrieved him from his car and brought him inside to tell him,
wow, you're pounding on the table.
I should have broken up with you. And you have the nerve to break up with me.
Yeah.
Wow.
You're at a whole different level.
I couldn't. Here. This just floored me.
You're probably peeking the microphone. I don't know what to do. That's fine.
That probably got me more than anything in this episode.
I should have started with that. I don't know. I think
dumb.
I think Emily's eye roll and attitude would get you. Maybe it's because our kids are kind of moving out in a way that this softens it for you. Not like our kids are here draining us.
Right.
They're actually out, moving to another state, moving to their second place.
Yeah.
So our kids are out and moving. So maybe a year ago, this would have been a little more rough with you. Yeah. This time it's Sophie. Sophie may be the one person, I don't even know how to describe it, so I'm just going to start talking.
Well, here's the thing, though.
She needs help. She needs help.
Back to that, at least when our kids were being immature and annoying, they were at an age where they should be immature and annoying. I mean, these people are old. Get your life together, man.
Well, I think what I was trying to get at is I think Sophie needs some help.
Yeah, she's got issues.
And we've kind of discussed this before. Somehow or another, she needs to see someone.
Yes.
Because between her mother, and it's maybe even just her mother, that she just needs to get fixed.
Yeah.
And Rob is not the one. Rob isn't the one that's going to be able to do this.
He's not equipped to handle this.
No. And should Rob have to handle Sophie's issues?
Uh-huh.
You think as a partner you'd like to, but Rob's not equipped for this.
No, he's not that guy. He's barely dealing with himself.
Rob has his own things to deal with. I think...
I don't think either one of them is in a position of readiness to be in a real relationship.
Yeah, and Sophie's got a throat infection from stress.
Oh, my gosh. That is not possible.
What could you get a throat infection from?
Bacteria and viral infection.
Right. Stress?
This is not from stress.
No, that doesn't do that.
You can lower your immune system so that you catch something, but you don't directly get an infection from stress.
No, it doesn't happen. Okay. For her, come back, go, even this little Squishmallow, right?
Mm-hmm.
Take Squishmallow. Mm-hmm. No, I want it. You know, it's the same thing back and forth. It's just that she brings him in and then tells him to leave. It's the same thing. I don't know if it's been a month or 2 months of Sophie that this has been going on, but it's the same thing.
Stay, go. I'm home, I'm not home. I'm home, I'm not home.
Yeah. Then leave. Bye.
Bye.
Like,
fine.
Fine. This was like the last episode.
With Kay.
Yeah, this was Kay and Rob.
Yeah.
And Kay isn't a big help here.
No.
At all. What did she say? I guess y'all can enjoy my apartment. And I'm like, you know what? Kay, why don't you step outside for a minute?
Right.
How about that? Rob should just go, you know what? I'm leaving your apartment. And they go again. And go, fine. Go. This panic attack, though, is something I think we've experienced. This was a real panic attack, right? Yeah. Sophie's not faking this panic. This is real.
Right. We've seen this.
And you can't just say, don't do that. It doesn't work that way.
Right.
Sophie doesn't know.
She needs some coping tools.
And Kay's not going to give it to her. Rob's not going to give it to her. This is a real thing, and people do deal with this. So it's what takes Sophie to this place, I think, is the issue.
Right.
And that
I used to break out in hives. When I was stressed.
We'd have a family member. I mean, we've experienced this personally. This same panic attack that Sophie had.
Yes, we've seen this.
Yeah, this is not something odd to us.
No.
But she wanted to end this. It should have been me. And to tell you the truth, she did already end this. By her not coming home.
You know what happens when you get emotional control and stability in your life?
I do not.
It doesn't happen anymore.
We know that I don't have that, and I don't know what that feels like. I just
it's like you used to get
I put a wet blanket
ulcers from ulcers in your mouth. And swollen eyes and stuff like that. As
an
a stress
infection.
reaction.
You're right, though.
And I used to break out in hives.
I would get open wounds on my tongue.
Right.
Is what it was.
And this was both of us before we met with other people.
Yeah.
And so...
I haven't had that in 30 years.
We don't have this problem anymore.
Right.
Because we have stability and emotional control.
I think it's because I put a wet blanket over it. We have always said that the one thing that shouldn't happen is I should probably never see like a therapist or something.
Yeah.
Because I think they would just go, yeah, here, you need some of these. Take some of this. You know. If we knew what was going around in there, that would be a problem. Not a marriage therapist. We're fine.
Oh, yeah,
we're good.
We're good.
I got some problems in there. We just found a way to cover it up. That's it. I think we'll probably get it. I can't imagine us going through the rest of this podcast, right? And us getting through, and I'm not going to go there yet because I think I'm going to save it for the end. to get through the Patrick and his dad stuff without me going to a dark place. And I'd rather not go dark now. So that reminds me to save Patrick to the end.
Okay.
Because I'm not sure I can do that. I mean, it just hits too close to home.
I'll talk about it then.
It just hits too close to home.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't mind it, right? It's real and it happens. And these are things that people have to deal with, right? So I get it.
Well, his dad really ticked me off.
I get it. I'm not going there now. I'm not.
When he said what he said.
I'm not going to do that.
That was messed up.
I'm going to wait. Because I think I'm going to get into some kind of angry rant.
Because you know what I would have said?
We're not doing it.
I would really want to talk about this.
I get it. We're going to wait. You'll get there, and you'll still feel that way.
Okay.
But I promise, I'm telling you, I think I'm going. I can feel it even watching the episode. I felt.
Yeah, I know this triggers you.
I felt it was the thing that happened, and I don't know that I can come back
from that. It makes me mad.
Right, so.
This scene.
So Ashley, Manuel is toasted. Have you, and now look, this is not something we do anymore, but have you ever been like Manuel was in your life, or how many times has that happened to you? Manuel was lit.
Oh, drunk?
Lit.
That he was so slurring. Man.
I don't know, 1 or 2 times maybe in your youth?
There was only one time that I would say I was really wasted. And it was because, 1, I hadn't eaten, and 2, some strangers bought me shots of something
welcome to
really
being a female.
Strong.
You said gorilla. Was it gorilla?
Gorilla fart was what it was called.
Right. Do you even know what that is? I don't.
Yeah, I've looked it up. It's a lot of really bad stuff mixed together.
It's a horrible sound.
High proof stuff.
Right.
And I didn't know what it was, and they sent me 3 of them back to back. And I was
You're not a big person.
No, and I didn't drink that much. So I was a responsible drinker. Like, I'd just go hang out at the bar and play foosball with people, and I'd have a couple of drinks, and then for the last few hours I'd drink water because I drove myself home and I was a responsible person. But this was bad. It did bad stuff to me. Like, my ears were ringing, and I couldn't sit up because I was so tired. I had to put my head down, and once I set my head down on my arms, they started trying to make me sit up or leave the bar. But I was with other people, and I hadn't driven myself. Well, I had driven myself, but I didn't want to get put out because I couldn't drive.
Right.
And so I was trying to stay.
You can't get put out as a female.
Yeah.
On the
in the middle of the night, drunk.
On the boardwalk.
So
there's too many Navy SEALs running around.
Yeah. I put my head down because I felt like I was going to be sick, and I just needed to just be still. And so I ended up, somebody I was with said, well, I'll carry her out.
Wow.
And take her home. So he did. He took me home. And it was a friend of my roommate, someone I knew.
That should maybe cure you of this ill.
Yes, it did. And I left my car there and went back the next day to get it. Well, I woke up the next day and I still couldn't drive because the room was spinning. I had such a hangover. It was terrible. That's the only time that's ever happened.
I was 19 and just got to Germany. It was my first weekend up on the mountain. The guys took me out, and I'd never experienced anything. I'd had a beer here or there, but
I did throw up.
Yeah, it was. That was bad, and I think that really cured me of just being out of control.
Right.
Manuel looks slurring and out of control.
Yeah, and he chose to do this. I stupidly didn't know what this was going to do to me.
Whiskey tasting is not a great thing to do here.
Yeah.
And we said it before, and I'm not sure you really are on board with this, but this scene is still pre-90 for me. Yeah. Still pre-90-day tell-all. If I'm talking about the previous season.
Yeah,
like 20 weeks ago, we saw a scene at the tell-all that was after this scene.
Yeah, I have a hard time accepting that.
Stacy, Ashley's mom, they had a conversation where they explained his embarrassment about him.
Well, it was about his use of money for his family. And he kind of explained his role, his cultural role a little bit more.
But you couldn't have had that scene and then this one. There's no way that scene at the tell-all.
I guess that's true because
They were.
She accepted
Yes.
it. And here she wasn't accepting that, so this couldn't have been after.
Yeah, this wasn't,
weird.
we just talked about this a month ago.
Right.
That wasn't this. That's how old this is.
That's so sad. And how confusing.
Yeah, because we've already got resolution to this and had it for a year.
This is so bad.
So this is bad. And if you don't believe me, go back and watch the last, and I think it may have been the last episode of the Tell-All, where they had this out.
Yeah, and that's when Hispanic lady, Latino lady,
I think it
what's
was
her name? She spoke up and explained.
No, I think it was Natalie or something.
No, it was
Okay, it was
because she's Latino.
Okay.
And she said this
Veronica.
is a real Veronica. She said this is a real thing.
It's possible. But that was explained, and Stacey understood it. Manuel explained it. It was all pretty clear about this. And so this whole season was about that tell-all.
Weird.
They'd filmed this,
That's
and
so
then
messed
that tell-all happened.
That's so old.
And so now here we are again, all this time later.
Very confusing.
I mean, this whole getting everybody riled up is tough.
Yeah, what bothers me is that Ashley is, one, having this conversation at his birthday celebration, two, having this conversation when inebriated, and three, having this conversation with him in front of her family. All three of these things make this the wrong time to have this conversation.
Well,
and it's all combined into one, so this is just a recipe for hard feelings.
And behind pints of whiskey.
That's what I said. And
Yep.
while inebriated.
Yes. It's just a lot of it. Yeah, this doesn't bode well, but we've been here before. She thinks he has a second secret family. He can't work. This is out there, and this is a problem.
And this hurts his manhood to have to take money from her to pay his debts and support his kids and help his family. I mean, this is a hard pill to swallow. And I think that's where this stems from, his inability to talk about it.
And that is a problem, and this gets resolved. We watched the resolution to this scene already.
Right.
I've seen it. He's wrong for not doing this.
Yes.
And they need to throw everything on the
telling her
table.
the
It would be
truth.
so much easier to throw everything on the table and go, this is what we have to do.
Right.
I have my student debts. I have whatever debts to pay for my family. I'm credit card bankrolling, helping my family while I can't work. I mean, it's a real thing. So let's talk about it.
Yeah.
Let's not just hide it. This Lauren and Alexi stuff is probably, I don't know, all these friends, everybody seems to tell her that this is you.
Yeah.
And you
This
need to
is
see
a
somebody.
Issue. A mental issue.
She
not
said this.
A physical issue.
I want this statement to be heard. And I don't know that you noticed it. I've never done therapy for body image.
Yeah.
This means she has done therapy for mom.
And it means that her body dysmorphia is a self-diagnosis.
Oh, but I think it's still, I think you're right.
She says she has body dysmorphia, but she hasn't seen anybody about this.
No.
To be told you have body dysmorphia.
Agreed.
Actual mental condition.
I don't know that that's even questioned, right? Because, I mean, for me, we don't know what my problems are, right? We don't. I've never been diagnosed with whatever my thing is, or things, whatever they are. I did go to a therapist as a child. That didn't go well. We've talked about that.
Yeah.
Where the therapist then was friends with my mom and told my mom everything that I said to the therapist. It made it not a good thing. So you know what happened? I didn't go to the therapist anymore.
Right.
So my mom didn't want me talking about what was going on.
Ah.
So that's great. Isn't that something? Right? So you can imagine.
It wasn't because you didn't want to talk to the therapist anymore?
Well, I wouldn't have had a choice. I didn't get to choose as a child. Right? This
but
wasn't.
You could not tell her stuff.
Yeah, but I
But
wasn't.
it wasn't because you were like, I'm not talking to her anymore?
No, it was, I never went again.
Wow.
So whatever issues took me there, then we were fine with, and we just rather
We're just
not
going to cover these up.
This is the wonderful way that our family deals with things.
That's great.
We just pretend like they didn't happen.
Wow.
Lauren's not like that. So I think we know I got things, right? Mm-hmm. We know it.
Yeah.
And we've just found a way to
navigate it.
Yeah.
But we've talked about it.
Sure. I think that's not an issue.
We've kind of therapied together. I think it's been positive.
Sure. We understand how to maneuver through that. What needs to be buried and what doesn't.
See, I'm not for burying, but
I don't know.
I get it.
I have a bad feeling about the end of this episode.
Okay.
I just do. I just really, really do. Because I felt really troubled.
Well, maybe you should skip it.
Yeah, I know. We probably can't. But we'll see how it goes.
I can talk about it. Maybe
I get
you
it.
don't comment.
I don't know that's possible. It'll be like a floodgate.
Crawl in your little black hole.
She said the line for Lauren is no silicone. That's where it's at. No silicone. And all her friends are, you have to deal with this the right way. There's even a therapist at the table.
Yeah. And I was surprised she wasn't quite as supportive. She was still saying, well, she could do it, but wait a few years.
Yeah, I think that was somebody else. The therapist was pretty quiet.
No, that was the therapist.
If I'm the therapist, I get up and run.
He said, you're a therapist, right? And she goes, yeah, I think she could do this, but she should wait a few years and then reconsider if she needs to do it.
I thought it was another lady. Well, Lauren there's a real thing going on with Lauren. I mean, let's be honest. You know, she's been in baby making mode for a while and she's out of that. So there's a transition in her life right now. And she's struggling with how to deal with that.
But we all go through seasons of life.
You can't say that. That's Patrick's dad talking. Well, I didn't have a dad around. So we all do go through it, but we're not all equipped to handle it.
I'm just saying everybody goes through seasons of life where, you know, your focus is your kids, or your focus is yourself, or your focus is your spouse, or your focus is taking care of your elderly parents, or, you know, like your season of life changes. And we all go through those transitions where you look for your new purpose. And you just have to do that in a constructive way. And I feel like she's not doing it in a constructive way. He I think, hit the nail on the head at the end of their scene where he said the kids are about to go to school. So this is probably the source of her feeling like I got to find a new purpose. Because her life has been wrapped around the children 24/7, and now it won't be. She'll have empty time.
I don't think it's all of them. I think it's more of my body has been used for producing children.
Well, it seemed like that, but he's also saying that her season of life is changing.
Well, I don't know that he's the best source for this.
Well, if they're about to go to school, then it is changing.
I get it, but it hadn't happened yet. Right?
I mean, that stage didn't happen for me for a long time because I homeschooled the kids for so long.
I'm not as impressed with Alex as I was when I found he couldn't operate the appliances or handle simple tasks. I get it. I think I was, maybe if I didn't go through the same thing, but I understand that I went through it, the kids were older. It was probably 12 years past this point where I had to take care of things, you know, and I think the second time I had to do it, it was easier than the first. The first was like shock.
Yeah.
But I think I did better. I would hope I did better.
What, the second time?
Even the first time, I hope I did better than Alex. But it was
real. Yeah, and the kids were here and could help too.
Yeah, I said it was 12 years, and that's a big, huge
But the
difference.
older kids were, not so much around.
And not like they weren't doing anything. But somehow or another, they would manage not to starve if something came up, if they didn't like what was being made. But they could manage the washer and dryer if they needed to. So Michael needed that lesson. This washer and dryer. I don't even know where to start with these two.
My word, it is a nightmare. Every background of every scene of every room in this house is a nightmare.
I have never, and I kind of have, what I do is I write on a notepad. It's a tablet with a pen. And so I take notes and I just delete it each week. And I have each couple listed. I have never written these many notes on a couple than I have about Angel and Michael this week. It went past into Nicole and Mahmoud's space on the tablet. I typed the names and handwrite it and then erase the handwriting. I went through Angela and Michael's and into Nicole and Mahmoud's and through their area.
I don't think that Angela's bedroom was so different from the whole rest of the house.
That laundry room was a fire hazard.
Was a hot mess.
And if you want to know, if you haven't watched the episode yet, I encourage you to watch this because I want you to see her Christmas tree.
It was a mess too. I said the kids must have decorated it because there's lights only half to 2/3 of the way up the tree. The star was crooked. Stuff was hanging off.
It wasn't a Charlie Brown tree.
It was a hot mess.
So what I imagine, did you ever string popcorn on a Christmas tree? Mm-mm. We did that, I think, once. We didn't. I think one year we did that. One, it seemed silly because why waste the popcorn?
Yeah, we had those gaudy 80s trees with the throw-on tinsel.
It would have been, I would have had, if they had spray-on butter at that time in my life, I would have sprayed it on the tree and eaten the popcorn off of the tree. Why would I waste a bowl of popcorn on a tree? This seems bad.
I would picture you taking the string of popcorn and wearing it like a candy necklace and eating it off the string.
I think I wanted to blow up the tree because I think they didn't do popcorn. I could picture Angela's tree being like cigarette butts, strung cigarette butts all together around the tree.
There'll be plenty of those.
This is what it would be.
Yeah.
It was. I saw an episode of Cops. I just randomly turn on like Pluto, like stuff like that. And the guy said to the guy, "Why do you have all these cigarette butts in your pocket?" I'm like, "Why would you put cigarette butts in your pocket?"
That's kind of weird.
So for me, this is why. Because Angela would string them up and put them on her tree.
Maybe he likes fishing. Because my parents smoked 5 packs a day, and then they liked to fish. So there were always a lot of cigarette butts thrown on the bank at the end of our yard as we lived on a little private lake. And I loved fishing, and I would fish all summer. So I'd go down there and go fishing by myself, but I didn't deal with worms and stuff. I would pick up my parents' cigarette butts because they were white, like a piece of bread.
This is super.
And I would put them on the hook and fish with cigarette butts, and I caught so many fish. They must have been on nicotine too because they loved cigarette butts.
All the cigarettes from your family's house leaked into the river and made them all addicted to nicotine.
It had to be. That's what it was.
To tell you the truth,
it would rain and probably wash them into the lake, and the fish were used to eating them, and it was like a snack.
This is like normal. This is great.
I caught so many fish with those.
Oh, this is bad. I think Angela, I haven't seen anything, but I assume Angela's going to catch some heat for smoking on Christmas Eve in the house. But I don't know. Maybe it's overrated. We don't smoke, but I can tell you. I don't know. You have some health issues.
Yes.
I probably don't.
I would swear that half of my
it can't be
missing school in my childhood for constant respiratory infections was because I had to breathe 5 packs of smoke a day.
I rolled cigarettes for my dad. I just have to. It was like my job on the weekends.
Oh my God!
I don't know that he sold them, but I would seem to roll hundreds of cigarettes.
Were these cigarettes? Are you sure that's what they were?
Yeah, my dad, that was cigarettes. My stepdad, it would have been something different, and they wouldn't have probably let me touch that, whatever he had in the back room. But I'm telling you, I rolled cigarettes.
Wow.
Right?
I watched my parents roll cigarettes.
We were like labor. He had a machine.
Oh.
It was a thing. He rolled his own cigarettes. I don't remember if we put filters in them, but at that point, I think he was smoking Camel non-filtered.
Wow.
I mean, that's real.
Yeah.
Right? It's real. So, this is what we grew up.
My parents smoked, I want to say, Kent 100s.
Even your dad?
Yeah.
Well, I guess he had what he had. Camel non-filters and Saratogas. This is what was going on in our house. He probably switched to filtered at some point, but not that I remember because the pack was so small. So this non-filtered pack was really, just cramming cigarettes in a box. That was it. That tree was something else.
Yeah.
I don't even know where to go with these two, right? Between the washing machine, the cigarettes, and the Christmas tree.
Have you seen so many clothes all at once?
No.
And the clothes are everywhere. They're all over her bedroom, right? We saw that already. All over her bedroom, like on every surface.
Sure.
Hampers full of clothes, and then clothes strung across the top of the washer and dryer and all about the room.
Meanwhile, you could say, well, these are the clothes for the kids.
Except her flag shirts were in there.
Well, I get it, but it's even her clothes.
But
You
she
say-
said they couldn't wash their clothes, or she actually said, we can't wash your clothes until the end of the week. The kids come first, and then she starts sorting her clothes.
You're last. No wonder why it would just be bad. It's a whole bad situation. And let's be honest, if she's washing clothes for Skyla's kids and Scotty's kids, right? If she's doing clothes for Skyla's
Why aren't
kids,
they washing their own kids'
so
clothes?
here we go. Why would Michael need to wash clothes for Scotty and Skyla's kids?
Yeah.
They're there.
Yeah, that's ridiculous.
This family is a hot mess. And then some.
Mm-hmm.
You know Scotty's not working.
Mm-hmm.
She's there. We've been through this. We went through this last week.
And she alluded to it for the first time.
Yes.
In this episode,
But you don't
pointed out.
You don't think she was talking about the little kids?
No, she said, with my grandchildren and my kids.
Plural.
In this house.
Yeah, you're
Yes.
right. She said that. That means Skyla and Scotty. She
Right.
acknowledged
and
that
I
they're
went,
there.
Whoa, did you hear that?
This
She
makes
said kids.
We have this, I would say it's one of the best groups that we have is our research department really is on top of things. And so we've really worked hard at developing them. And so I think they're efficient. They make good use of their time. And they researched that Scotty is, in fact, in the house. Mm-hmm. And so this makes that true.
Yep.
So we are going to, I think, maybe give a bonus and a raise to our research staff.
From 0 to 0 plus?
Well, I think we're going to double what they get.
Oh, okay.
Right?
0, 0.
2 times 0 is still 0.
Yeah.
So that's what they
That's
get.
great.
But so Scotty's there, Skyla's there, but Michael has to do their laundry. I'm like, I quit. I'm not doing this. I mean, it's not a lot. And, Michael should do whatever you can to help.
Because he's just going to be at home.
I would get this place in
I would
shape quickly.
definitely start cleaning out.
Well,
What a
she'd
hot
question
mess.
it. You go, here's what I want you to do, Angela.
Her counters in the kitchen are covered with
Don't
stuff. There's
get
food,
my
stuff
phone.
that should be in some kind of pantry or cupboard or something.
I want you to get a dumpster and a fire barrel. And we're going to resolve this problem right now.
What did you think of this Thanksgiving,
whoa.
this Christmas meal?
I asked the questions. But go ahead. One time.
What did you think of this
Kelly,
Christmas meal?
This one time. I'm going to let you ask me about my business. One time. Right. That's a Godfather restaurant.
Right.
It's one of my favorite scenes in God.
'Cause
Michael
he still lies.
ask Kay.
With a straight
Kay's
face.
asking Kay.
Yeah.
This one time I'm going to let you
Yeah.
talk to me about my business. And then
He lies.
And then he lies. Oh, what a wonderful scene that is for you non-Godfather people.
That we've
That's
seen 50 times.
incredible. You can ask me this time, like he's going to tell the truth. And he freaking lies, right?
With a straight face.
So
And she says, thank you.
I have a question
Thank
about
you.
turkeys and all this. Why do we do turkey at Thanksgiving and Christmas? It's a month apart. Can't we pick something like Easter turkey? Why do we do ham at Easter and then turkey again at Christmas when we just did turkey at Thanksgiving?
Because turkey at Thanksgiving that you waited all year for was so good that you can't wait to have it again. That's why.
So this is a prepped. This isn't there was no let's make Thanksgiving. This was a purchased Thanksgiving meal from them.
Christmas.
Yeah, that's what I mean. It doesn't matter. It's the same meal.
Yeah.
Which I don't understand, by the way. It's the same in our house too.
Yeah,
It's the exact same
because that's what everybody
meal.
wants.
The only difference is cranberries.
Right.
But sometimes you even have those.
Yeah. Just for myself because I'm.
So they had these tins. There was so much food.
Yeah. Why did they have these big trays of stuff like they were feeding a banquet?
Well,
We know kids pick at stuff.
I don't
They
know how to
really
say
eat.
this. This is going to be really hard. The kids weren't sitting. They were eating. It was like it was prison Thanksgiving or prison Christmas.
Hurry up and grab it.
They were standing there and literally grabbing this stuff like they hadn't eaten in a
Yeah,
week.
it was crazy. It's stuffed. And the one girl stuffed an entire roll in
Well,
her mouth.
it's rolls. I like that.
Like she was gonna choke. It filled up her whole mouth. She couldn't close her lips. Then it was sticking
Well, it was
out
like
of her
bread.
cheek.
I get it, right?
Wow.
It would be like our
A dry
lab.
roll.
I'm not trying to compare her to a dog,
She
but
didn't even put butter on it.
if you gave if you put a loaf of rolls, say you put 20 rolls down in front of Lily.
Oh, she would have.
What would happen?
Choked herself out and died happy.
This dog and bread. She would sneak into a grocery bag that you brought home.
Yeah, while I was putting groceries away.
Pick out a
loaf of bread. Pull it out. Chew up the wrapper and eat the entire loaf of bread before I could turn around and see that she had done it.
I miss that girl.
Yeah.
Oh, and the bread. We'd have to hide bread.
Yeah,
you can't leave bread on the counter.
Right, and the time I spent all day baking breadsticks stuffed with cheese from scratch. And I just took them out of the oven, and the kids were down the street, and only you and Hayden were in the back. And I took each of you one hot breadstick and left the hot pan on the bar.
That was really good.
And I came back in, and I was confused because I was going to get me one and take two down to the other kids that were at their friend's house. And I'm like, I start spinning around. What did I do with them? Where did they go? Did I move them? I was all confused. And then I looked, and I saw her next to the bar with her head down and her tail tucked, looking guilty. And I realized that she hopped up on the bar and ate the entire pan of breadsticks I'd slaved all day.
Breadsticks, poor girl.
Ate them all hot. It probably burned all the way down.
I would make her, we would, I would make her, if she was here, I would make her a tray of bread.
All the bread she wanted.
Yeah. That would be great. What are they going to do with this food? Their refrigerator's broken.
Where are they going to put this food?
Their refrigerator's broken. All they have left is the soda fridge.
Yeah, what are they going to do with all this food?
I don't know.
Massive pans of food.
It's huge.
It looked like they were about to have
kids,
like a homeless line.
There's 4 adults.
A soup kitchen.
Scotty's off camera, but 4 adults and all these kids. So, the kids are just picking at stuff.
Of course.
They're just going to eat the bread and some mac and cheese.
I said maybe they're just going to leave it all on the counter at room temperature and feast on it the next day.
That would be not good. That would be really bad. But they're probably immune, you said.
Yeah, we knew some people who regularly would cook mass amounts of food because they would have, grandkids and cousins and whatever in and out of their house all day.
Just come all day.
And they would just leave food out all weekend. And they would just come in and graze and eat. And it would sit there all day. And we'd be there visiting and be like, I'm not eating that.
I know why they could do that. I was there one time, and it was the night that Dale Earnhardt Sr. died. Mm-hmm. This was just before then. That race got delayed. And we were at their house, and he pulled, I think I was having some back issues. At the time I was working in the field. And you were driving. And they pulled this mason jar out of the freezer. And he said, you got some back problems? Try this. And so if you pull something out of the freezer and it's not frozen.
It's not frozen. It's got alcohol.
It doesn't just have alcohol in it.
Some homemade hooch.
It is alcohol. It's alcohol.
Yeah.
And so my back felt better.
I bet it did.
It did. I didn't feel a thing.
That's great.
And then we went home, and that's when we'd heard that Dale Earnhardt had crashed into the wall and passed away. So that was the thing. It was that night. So
but they ate like that all the time. And I go, don't eat that. It's been out for hours.
They ate like that because in their stomach was this alcohol that could purify
hooch that killed everything.
Anything. Hooch, I think, is probably the right term.
Yep.
I don't even know where to go. She meets a PI at the China buffet.
Yeah, what's up with that?
He doesn't have an office. This guy. It's great. Angela, I love when Angela tells her story to the guy. And she does it, I don't know, through these rose-colored glasses, right? I think for her, the story, this would be if I told Angela's story, and we were kind of getting into it while we were watching it, it would be, because I think we weren't listening anymore.
Yeah.
We were just going back and forth.
Right.
If Angela's story is this, I broke his car, I broke his phone.
Yeah.
I did give his mother a microwave.
Yeah.
So that was nice.
Yeah.
Right. I threw a drink.
Yeah.
I spit at him and on him.
With food.
Yeah. I threw a drink. I banged a dude in Canada.
Yeah.
I probably fondled Dr. Obeng.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I moved my child molesting daughter into the house. I did all of these things. And Michael is on this bad Facebook group. But she left out all the beginning stuff and only the end. Mm-hmm. So, if he's scamming her, he's going to be gone one way or another, she says. I said this, Joy texted us during the episode. She must have been watching real time because it came like that. I texted her, I said, you know what, Angela? You know what? You lost. Say what you want. You lost.
Yeah.
And there's probably nothing you can do at all. Nothing.
She says she's going to try and get him deported.
Here's what I would do.
Real time.
And I'm not trying to be manipulative, but I'm going to say if I'm Michael, this is what I do. I get Angela maybe at the top of the stairs in a HEA tell-all, and I bait her. Because there's no doubt that Angela would strike him.
Oh, yeah. She looks like, in the preview to the tell-all, it looked like she was all in his face, like spitting almost. She was so close to his
She spit
face.
a pork chop on him.
Telling him off.
The whole thing.
I'm like, that is so
I would get,
aggressive.
it sounds bad, and I know. We've talked about my ability to get people to hit me.
Yeah.
It's happened. Not lately, and not you. Let's be clear about that.
No.
You have not struck me.
Other
people.
coworkers.
I have managed to provoke people with words.
Yeah.
And this would be like Candace from Real Housewives of Potomac.
Right.
Don't get mad at me because I can use my words. I'm not like that. It's not what it's about.
No.
But I think when I heard that, it's what I thought about.
Yeah, and I thought of you too.
Because I would get into an argument with somebody.
Get smart with people.
I would get really smart, and I would say things that there was no answer to, and then they would strike me or choke me or come at me.
Yeah.
So that would happen. So I think I would do that to Angela at this point. In a public place, I could say, Angela, I'm staying. And there's nothing you can do about it. I scammed you.
Whisper.
I scammed you.
It would be great.
And I did it for 7 years.
Oh, gosh.
I never loved you. I just tolerated you. And I won. And you lost. Whack! And it would happen, right? She'd snap. If he survived, right?
Right.
If not, this would be court TV that we would be watching.
Right,
We'd be talking, instead of the Black Swan trial, we'd be talking about Angela beheads Michael.
Yeah.
Eats his head off.
Yeah.
But that's what I would do. Because I know that I could get her to snap. And then,
because you're wicked like that, deep down inside.
I am. I do apologize to everybody. I may sound like a nice person, but I think we've all been around. This has been like a 5-year run or something.
Yeah, you have learned to squelch that side of yourself.
Bury it.
It's in there.
This is what I do. Bury it deep down inside.
It's definitely in there. I've seen it.
Yeah, I got some things going on. And so I would like to say we're better now, but we're not.
It's a little more in control.
Yes, right. Yeah. So that's good. But when I see this Patrick and his dad scene.
Yeah.
I mean, Patrick's broken. We knew he was broken, but it's really bad. I'm going to say this right from the start before you start and hopefully take over. When Patrick is broken like this
and
with his father
crying,
and his dad is just sitting there stone cold.
Expressionless.
I don't care what he says after, right?
I just want to go, you bastard.
Wow. I don't know if I have to beep that.
No, I don't think so.
Okay, that's good. Because that's what he is.
Yeah, that's what he is.
Oh, so that's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, this hurt, right?
Yeah. That's horrible.
It's bad.
And if I was her watching this from afar, seeing him cry like that and his dad sit there with a cold face, yes, I would march right up and have some words and take him by the hand and walk away. And that would be the end of that. Yeah. Because you're not going to make my spouse feel that way and get away with it.
My dad never had that. We never had that conversation. I think what hurts more than anything is that I had that conversation because it was kind of post-stroke. My dad wasn't able to really put his thoughts in words together. And so 2 different times, Linda had brought me aside and said, your
stepmom.
Yeah. Said your dad feels bad about the abuse. I don't think he used it, but about the violence and the way he was with you. He saw a lot of himself in you.
And that's why he picked you.
Yes. And so I don't know that it helped, right? This was, I would say, round 1 of 3. Because after we had that conversation, we were in communication for a while, but then Linda cut it off again. And then I would go back. I went back again and got everything at least back together. I guess she couldn't, if I'm sitting on your front porch, you really can't stop me. Like, I'm not leaving until you let me see my dad.
Right.
But she would cut us off. And so we had the last time I was up there, we had a real heart-to-heart about just things and me. And I probably bared more to her than I had anybody else ever. Mm-hmm. You know, not in front of my dad, but this is where I'm at, right? I have these things going on.
Yeah.
And what she did then was cut me off again. Uh-huh. You know, instead of giving me access to my dad, she just cut me off. Uh-huh. And it
stayed that way.
Yeah, and then he passed away, and we read about it in the paper.
Yeah, that was terrible.
Right? And so when I see this, you know, it just kind of eats at you. Uh-huh. And so I don't know. I think, you know, the years apart of my dad during that time, we didn't deal with. We probably could have had that conversation when they came down when our oldest was born.
Yeah.
He was probably.
But that was really the first contact you'd had in a long time. And it was such a positive interaction. And seeing him hold your first child.
Isn't this kind of what Patrick's chasing?
Yes.
Look, we have contact. Things are fine.
Yeah.
I really don't want to rough things up a bit.
Right.
So I get it. And so it's tough. And so, you know, I don't know. I think in this scenario, you probably didn't know everything at that point. Right, when my dad came. That was only 5 years into our marriage.
Yeah.
You probably didn't know the depth of the damage.
Yeah, you didn't get into a lot of that till way into our marriage.
So you didn't know. So Thais probably knows and is pushing this. And maybe it's better that they're forcing this conversation and that it happens versus just brushing it over.
Well, they have the opportunity to have it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't know. You know, for me, my dad made the choice he made, and I get it. We all do what we got to do. Linda was an evil, wicked person, and he needed to survive. And so she cared for him, like, because he was ill, and so he had to do what he had to do. So, I mean, he made that choice. I'm not saying she forced it, but, I don't know, he had no other way to survive.
Well, and he made that choice when y'all were younger, too, and visiting, you know, in the limitations you had.
Sure.
And so, I mean, you had to kind of live with knowing you were second choice.
Sure. I don't think you didn't know about it then until you just kind of realize this is just how it is. You know, you're just a kid.
Right.
And I think Patrick just had all these years, and I think he had other family issues, too, that he had to deal with.
Right.
But to see his dad be that cold.
Yeah, and to say to him, well, I didn't have my dad either. This is what angered me.
I get it.
Because here's how I equate this. So you're just going to keep perpetuating that? You think Patrick isn't going to go out of its way to make sure he's always there for his kid because he knows how it made him feel? That's the reaction his dad should have had, and he didn't. It's like saying, oh, yeah, I molested you, but my family member molested me too. Well, it explains a little bit, but you should go out of your way to make sure that doesn't happen. So you know I limited my own affection to my kids when they were young because I never wanted to cross that line. It made it uncomfortable for me because I was consciously thinking about it. Because I wanted to make sure the same thing was not perpetuated on my kids. This stops here. And so you would expect that his dad would have done the same. So that's an excuse.
He may not have the tools. I get it.
But him saying that is wrong.
I'm not trying to explain it away. But I'm just saying if his dad was never issued the tools to do the job.
What tools do you need
to
not hurt somebody in the same way you were hurt? If you know how painful it is, why would you inflict that on someone else?
It repeats itself, doesn't it? I mean, we see it over and over again.
But it doesn't have to.
I get it. But if you're not there and you haven't dealt with it, I'm not trying to make excuses. I'm the last guy.
Did you do to your kids what was done to you?
No.
Did I do to my kids what was done to me?
No. I get it. But
because you just throw on the heavy brakes and go, no.
I don't know that everybody's capable of that, though. You could be so damaged. I watched, and I think I kind of know what my grandmother did to my mom, right? And I know that where my mom is now is probably a small little miracle on her part. Because my grandmother was an evil, wicked person, right? She just was. Now, my mom isn't an evil, wicked person, but she's better than my grandmother was, right? And so when you go there, I go, you got the tools that you were handed. Not everybody can deal with it.
We know someone who was mistreated and emotionally damaged, and she was so afraid that she would do the same thing to her children and not be able to control it, that she chose not to have children.
I understand.
That's a will to not pass that down. I get
it, but not everybody has that. We all have our own mental health issues and the way we cope and deal with things. And, it's not a cookie cutter approach. So maybe when I see, as I saw that, I know that,
but he turned around and did the same thing.
My dad's side of the family didn't deal with problems, right? My grandfather had a secret marriage that we didn't know about, right? Before my dad was born. And so nobody knew about it. It just wasn't a thing. It wasn't until, I don't know, I was 50 or 48 until I found out about it. It was just the way they dealt with things. And my grandmother on my mom's side dealt with things physically, with violence with my mom. And so these are the parents that I had. I think they did what they could. Sure, they didn't have to pick me up and, throw me in a bathtub. They didn't have to do those things. But alcohol, drugs, all these things that people do to cope with these issues that they can't deal with. Like, I have no idea, why this happened. So I turned to drugs, I turned to alcohol, and then it just moves in a direction, and then it's out of control.
But why would you have children if you know that you're not fit?
I don't know
to raise them properly.
Well, I think you don't know that.
Yeah, well, if you have to depend on drugs and alcohol and everything else.
You're not at that point, right? I mean, even my parents were young, right? They were teenagers when they had my sister. They were our age when we had our oldest, when they had me, and I was the third. I'm not trying to make excuses, and you can always break the cycle, but I think it's easier to say than to do.
Well, we did it.
I don't know. It's not done yet.
I'm just saying, we didn't do any of those things to our kids.
Yeah.
That we experienced.
Didn't make us, I don't know. I think
and we may have failed in other ways. I'm sure we did. But I'm just saying that the things we knew were awful that we hated growing up were not things we did to our kids.
Well, I think it was, for me, it turned into substance abuse and choosing a good person as a spouse. What your priorities were. And I think if you could do those things, find a way not to fall in. But it happens with teenagers, and that cycle starts then, even before you're at that point. So I think the miracle is that I haven't fallen into some kind of substance abuse problem, despite the history of it in my family. And that, I kind of chose you, right? You're either helping or you're hurting.
Yeah.
Right? And so that's where we are. I think we've gotten off track. I don't know, but so at the end, it feels like Patrick is somebody who is going to break the cycle.
Yes.
Don't we feel that?
Yes. I believe he is a person who is of good character, who is paying attention and trying his best to be better than what he grew up with.
And you can see he's hurt. And I think now that he has a child, it may just, and I think it's the same for me.
Surfaced more.
Right. You put yourself in these situations, and you remember a situation you're in with your kid.
Yeah, and then you're
where you were with your dad.
Right? Disappointed at what your experience was.
I think that's a lot of it.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think I've kind of held on to more of the positives, but the negatives are so deep and painful, right?
Well, you've held on to the positive because that's all they allow you to speak of.
Right. Well, that's nothing. I mean, some of my favorite stories of my dad are always, for a couple years we played on the same softball team.
But are you allowed to reference any of the negative?
Well,
No. Exactly.
Well, that you can't even talk about. I've got no way to talk about my dad with,
No, I'm talking about with your mom. You can't ever discuss anything that you'd like to discuss.
No.
Right.
It's just, there's no point of it.
Pretend,
because it's not going to be real.
Whatever.
It won't be real.
Right.
It'll be whatever clouded version. So I'll never know what happened.
Right.
And that's fine. It's not fine. But otherwise I wouldn't bring it up every other week. So it's definitely not fine, and I have problems, and I should probably see somebody myself, right? But I think Patrick's on the way, and he can break the chain, and I think
I think that Thais is a good support system for him, and probably exactly what he needed to keep him moving in a positive direction.
Yeah, I think so. We get a lot of the drama and the John stuff, and it was nice to see John and Thais
make up.
Yeah.
I think they made a lot of progress on this trip. Everybody.
Yeah, I don't know.
Everybody made progress.
I wonder when this trip happened, versus when Single Life happened and what we see. I hope. Did we see any clips of John at the tell-all? That would be great.
Well, he was there.
Was he at the
Yeah, he was there with his girlfriend.
No. I mean in the new one, in this, in the house.
No, I didn't see him.
I want John coming in the house throwing shots around. Right?
I don't think they had any side characters.
John should come
at all.
I think John should be there
because, Liz's boyfriend was at the tell-all, but I didn't see him in the house.
I guess maybe just to end it, it would be that, Patrick's dad seemed to say the right things at the end. You're still my son, and even apartment or no apartment, you're still my son. And you said I think we said the same thing at the same time. Well, then get rid of the apartment.
Right.
Let's find out.
See what actually happens. Let's test that.
Yeah, maybe rent the apartment to somebody else.
Uh-huh.
He's asking for advances on it. And all sorts of
ridiculous.
Stuff, so, yeah.
He's got a kid now. He's now taking from his kid's future to fund his dad.
That's really bad. I could put this money towards my child's, Elise's education, or I could give my dad more beer money.
Right.
Yeah. He did say he was sorry, but no tears just killed me. It just did. Whew, that was the end. How about that?
Amen.
Right.
I'm anxious for the tell-all.
Yeah, it should be fun because it's different.
The tell-all should be better than this whole season.
Yeah, I think it was all right at the beginning, but the trouble is this should have been a 10-episode season instead of a 20-episode
It's like the same stuff every episode.
I don't think anything's any different.
No.
At all. Period. I mean, you could have just brought Michael here at the beginning.
Right.
Because nothing really happened over there. This was just fake stuff.
Yeah.
So bring him over and that'll be fine. For us, we have started not even covering, but I think we're talking about some real life trials on our subscription personal podcast. So jury selection for the Black Swan trial is tomorrow. If you have Court TV, which you can, Pluto, Roku TV, heck, it's even on our broadcast antenna, is kind of keep an eye on that. We're going to be watching it, talking about it, maybe in our personal podcast.
And if you have Philo, Court TV's on there too.
Oh, is it really?
Yeah.
Even now? It comes and goes, it moves around.
No, I said.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Good. So there's lots of, if Court TV is not available to you, you just gotta look around because it's everywhere. So.
Yeah, I think it's gaining popularity.
Yeah.
I lived for it back in the day when they showed real-time trials all day long. I mean, I was glued to it. My kids were little.
And for us, it's kind of, if we don't have this kind of stuff to do or podcasting, I like it to have it kind of on the back. Even at work, I can have a kind of TV on in the background. I don't like having that back there. There's a lot of details you don't want to see. It's kind of boring and mundane, but in a 48 hours or in a Dateline show, you only get 43 minutes of stuff. You couldn't go through all this stuff in 40 minutes. So we're watching that. For us, we watched it but haven't recorded 60 Days In and Inmate to Roommate from last week. It'll probably be the next thing that you hear. The other way, lots of other stuff. Subscribe, $3.99 plus tax on whatever platform of choice is. Anything else? I think that's it. So have a good one.
Thank you for listening.
You can listen to additional episodes
By subscribing to our Coupled with Chaos channel on Apple.
by subscribing to our Patreon
Or by subscribing to our Supercast,
for $3.99 a month.
where you can hear us talk about reality shows,
Real life and more on our podcasts.
covering shows airing on TLC, A&E, Bravo, and the WE Network.
Just follow the instructions in the show notes
Tell your friends about this podcast.
and rate and review us on your favorite podcast player.
Follow us at Coupled with Chaos on all the socials.
Or contact us directly by email at coupledwithchaos@gmail.com.